These are 4 ways, all right, 4 ways for you to stand up against Christianity, against the Jesus spook, or to just, whenever it comes to Jesus and Christianity, just to be like, fuck you. And the reason why is because there's a lot of people, when it concerns the basis of religion and spirituality and things of that nature, a lot of people don't know how to deal with it when they are first deconstructing from it. And, I guess I'm a platform out here that, is bold and unapologetic about these different type of, ideas and topics and these standards. And so a lot of people don't know how to deal with their faith. They don't know how to deal with the judgment, the peer pressure, having second thoughts, the trauma, the condemnation, the guilt, and everything of these sorts and matters and stuff like that. So I want to make this a podcast, a special podcast for people, who are dealing with these type of things, and I'm gonna have it here. I'm gonna have it on my Instagram and everything of that sort. And definitely for the people who are listening to my podcast, you're listening to this, and people who are watching this on YouTube, you are also dealing with this as well. So, for those who are watching on YouTube, make sure you like the video. All right, share this with a couple of your friends or two. And without further ado, let's get into it. So, I have 4 things that I have listed on how to get rid or how to stand up against the Jesus spook. All right, how to stand up in your faith and be firm in what you believe in. And I'm gonna list them out, and then we're gonna go over each one as we go. All right. So number 1 is to own your truth. The second one is to reject their judgment. The third one is to stand firm against pressure, and the fourth one is to claim your power. Okay. And we're just gonna go over this. Hopefully, I won't be on here for too long. I don't want to be on here for a whole hour or so. But I want to deal with the topic before we even get into the basis of this conversation, is because a lot of people have a weird feeling when it comes to, especially black people. They have a weird feeling when it comes to dissecting and deconstructing Christianity, or deconstructing from their faith, because he was raised up in it, he was born in it. Your grandma, your grandma, your great granddad, this has been passed down from generation to generation. So this is all you know. All you know is Jesus. All you know is the Bible. All you know is, the Gospels and these, Veggie Tales. And so it's kind of hard for you to really look at life from a spiritual perspective without that, because you hold something near and dear to that. Because, when it comes to Jesus or Christianity, right then and there, you're going to have those memories of going to church, or your mama and your grandma praying over the food and everything of that sort. You really can't run away from it. And for those of us who have religious people within our household, or for us who have family members who are Christian or religious, you're never going to run away from it. It really never leaves you, when concerning these type of topics, when concerning the basis of Jesus. You're always going to have, one way or another, Jesus is going to be knocking at your door. So number 1 is to own your truth. You can't really be anywhere. You can't really be the person that you truly want to be unless you own your truth. A lot of people have a misconception on what truth is. A lot of people have a misconception on identifying truth. For some reason, you're not on my homepage. Oh Lord, don't tell me they shadow banning my live streams. That's okay. We still gonna keep it moving. But if they don't have the live stream on the homepage to see who's live, that is a little weird. That's funny, and not funny, haha. But the number 1 way when dealing with deconstructing and standing firm in who you are from deconstructing is owning your own truth. And a lot of people have a insecurity, or they feel condemned when it concerns the basis of what they truly believe in and where they go from here when it concerns pulling away from this illusion of Christ, pulling away from, you see me on the homepage, well, that might just be her, I don't know. But a lot of people have insecurities. You feel condemned, they feel guilty because mama believes in it, daddy believes in it, and all these people keep coming up to you. When you become vocal and open and you let people know, hey, I don't believe in God, or you believe in God, or maybe you don't believe in God at all. Maybe you're an agnostic, maybe you're just questioning things. And so when it concerns the basis of those type of topics, it gets to a point to where you don't even want to be open about it. You start really just being to yourself, and you start having second thoughts, and you're like, am I truly in what I'm supposed to be doing? Am I really going down the right road? And you put yourself, if you get there far enough, you might put yourself into some form of depression or anxiety. And some people, when they get down to that level, they start turning back around. You know what? Maybe I need to look and have a second thought for Jesus. Maybe. And that's how some people do. Some people were raised up in the church. They were raised up in the church. They go on to being an atheist or an agnostic, whatever the case is. They go off to college and things. And then they turn back around my age and older, and they start believing in Jesus again, or whatever the case is. Even worse, some people will go from Christianity and go back into another cult called spirituality, or being woke, and they'll have their crystals. They'll be popping crystals and all these different things and having their natal charts. I could deal with that all day, but we'll save that for another conversation. But truly, the number one thing you need to deal with when it concerns deconstructing from faith and also pulling away from the Jesus spook is owning your truth. You cannot, and I can't stress this enough, you cannot be who you truly want to be. You can't go any further within this journey of disbelief in their gods than to own your truth. You have to know what you believe in. And to really pull back on this story, for those who've listened to my podcast before, or for people who are newcomers rather, when I was in college, I was a Hebrew Israelite. When I had first entered into college, or when I had first transferred back in 2019, and I went up to Atlanta, and I was a Hebrew Israelite. Well, I would say I was a Hebrew no Israelite, but I was a non-denominational Hebrew Israelite. I was like another Christian, whatever the case is, blah. But I didn't take the Bible literal. I was making it all complicated and stuff. But anyways, I had a roommate, and he was a Christian. He was an artist as well, and he had some friends over at one time, and I was making food and all these different things in the kitchen, and I had like the Hebrew words of Yahweh's name right on a hoodie. I don't know where that hoodie is now. I probably threw it away. But I went to his room because one of the girls in his room was looking at me or spying on me while I was in the kitchen cooking. And so I go in there, we start chatting it up and everything of that sort. One of the girls in the room was like, what'd that say on your shirt? And basically what had happened was I was explaining what the shirt says and what it represents and what it means to me. And it was like, so are you a Christian or everything of this sort? And I was just making everything complicated. Like, do you go to Bible study or this and that and the third, or you go to church? And I'm just making everything complicated. I'm like, the way I would explain things is like, well, I kind of believe in God, but I don't believe in God how you believe in God, because like God to me is like, I don't really see him as man or woman or father or mother, because like God relates to me how God relates to you, because God relates to everybody. And when it comes to church, I don't really, think that you should go to church, because, really when it concerns church is really within, and I'll just be over explaining stuff. You ever hear somebody like try to explain their philosophy or their motto or their spirituality, and they sound like they're just reading from a script, or they're just trying to find things, they're just trying to pull things to just try and resonate with you, or trying to get you to understand where they're coming from. And for somebody to do that lets you know that they're not truly like grounded in what they believe in, And even on the flip side, some people can be truly grounded and just give you like vague answers, right? But vague, like little, like small answers kind of saves you, the explanations and stuff like that, right? Because if somebody tells you, oh, I'm a Christian, I believe in Jesus, that's where it goes from there, right? You don't really have to go any further than that. if you say you're a Christian and you believe in Jesus, they already know where you stand. Whereas like for me, if I'm what you consider to be omniist, right, I have to do a little bit of explaining. I have to really, break this down on what exactly, am I talking about? Like what is omniism? And so omniism is the basis of, for those who are newcomers and for those who are watching on, YouTube and you don't know exactly what omniism is. Omniism from the Google perspective, right? I'll give you the vague perspective. Omniism is understanding that the truth is not implemented in one religion or one tradition or another, but that every spiritual or religious system has a sector of truth. And you, as the person who is viewing all these different displays of truth, understand that truth is expressed in more than one manner. That's basically what omniism is. So me being omniist, I'm able to see the truth or the connection of God or the supreme essence within everything or in every particular, system or spiritual belief. So a good example that I like to use is like when you go to school, you have to learn different curriculums in order for you to advance to the next level. So you can't advance to the next level without having some form of an understanding of math, science, social studies, language arts, so on and so forth. You have to learn how to count. You have to know how to add and subtract. You have to know how to read, write, all these different things. And so I truly feel like all the spiritual systems, voice getting dry. I truly feel like all the spiritual systems that's where it's like pointing to. So that's where all the spiritual systems is pointing to, is just to your enlightenment, to your highest and greatest potential. What's good? I'm trying to wave at everybody as I'm doing this. so that y'all know I ain't leaving y'all out. I see where y'all coming from. Virginia is kind of like elementary school and you keep learning. Well, I mean, that's essentially like when it concerns like different religious systems, everybody has their own particular beliefs, and Christianity is no more of like going to the candy shop and getting your favorite candy, all the different flavors and all the different like types of candy and things of that nature. It's just one particular candy along with the other candy. There's not really one specific way to make candy. There's not really one specific flavor within candy. So, there's different types of candy. There's different flavors of candy, just like there's different flavors of food. There's different types of food. There's different types of fish. There's different types of things that you can eat, different types of things you can get at a grocery store. It's the same thing in terms of how you are able to, get things from the source or get things from other people, and you can learn from other people. The same thing applies when it concerns, searching out for spirituality and your truth. So the people who contribute themselves to Christianity, that's fine and all, and it's fine and dandy that people are grounded in something spiritual. If that's what helps them go further on in life, more power to you. Where it gets dogmatic is where you try to tell people that this way is the only way to God. Your expression, your dance is the only way to dance to this song. Your way of talking is the only way of talking. You know what I'm saying? So that's where it gets dogmatic, is when you try to, everybody's dancing to the same beat. Everybody's dancing to the same rhythm of life. Everybody's dancing to the same song. But you're saying that the way you dance, everybody's supposed to hit the Cupid shuffle. Everybody's supposed to two-step when you two-step, and everybody else is dancing differently. And that's okay, because that's the beauty of life. Life is not supposed to be vague and linear. Everything has versatility. So if everything, when you're dealing with genre, when you're dealing with flavors, when you're dealing with music, when you're dealing with colors, so on and so forth, even civilizations and cultures and etc., the same thing applies to the way that you express. The same thing applies to how you express God and how you connect with God. And I put quotations around that because when it concerns God, not everybody calls God God. We just recently, if you study in terms of language, people just recently started calling God God. That comes from Norse people. or the Germanic people. Let me read some of these comments and then we're going to move on to the second one. So for the people who just came on in, we're dealing with the 4 ways to deconstruct from Christianity, or the 4 ways to stand strong against the Jesus spook, which the number 1 is to own your truth. Basically, you have to be grounded in what you believe in. Find what resonates with you. Me, I found omnism. When I found omnism, I just knew that was the it factor. And omnism is not a faith or religion. It's like a philosophical perspective. It's like an outlook on life. So you just got to find your motto. For me, it's like a man cannot serve 2 masters, so he must become his own. You have to be that person to be grounded within your own beliefs and within your own faith. Read some of these comments. How often do you trip? Not including, I don't know what that means. go a little, emphasize a little more, or elaborate a little more on that one. A lot of spiritual systems keep pointing to this type of candy, like you're doing respectfully. Elaborate. Why wouldn't every religion do so, though? I don't know what that means. When personal experience, we've been shown otherwise. I don't know what that means either. It's stupid to have system of hell. You would want the God to tell you, I am the only way. I don't think that was correct English. It's stupid to have system of hell. You would want the God to tell you, I am the only way. I'm gonna try my best to analyze that. I'm assuming you're saying that it would be better for a particular entity or a God to tell you the right way. I'm telling you, there is no right way. So there is no right way or specific way to connect with God. That's what I'm telling you. There's no specific way to style. There's no specific way to dress. There's no specific way to speak. There's no specific way to style your hair or to dress or to go about certain things in life, or how to live life. That's what I'm telling you. No, you good. It's fine. No, I'm just trying to, break it down for you on where I'm coming from. When it concerns, spirituality and God itself, and concerning connecting with God, there is no one way or right way or specific way to connect. And that's what I was saying before. That's where it gets dogmatic, is when you try to tell people this is the only way, this is the only path. When even the Hindu, they say that the truth is one, but the paths are many. The truth is one, is universal, but the wise call it by many different names. Some religions have shamans. Do you incorporate psychedelics into your omnism? If so, what do you trip on and how often? Okay, now that's a little more specific. But no, I don't personally do psychedelics or anything of those sorts. I don't do psychedelics. I don't do no shrooms or anything of that sort. So I think everything for me is mostly like scholarly and studying and things of that nature, and just living my life how I choose to live my life. I think that's just how I go. That's just me personally. All right, moving on to number 2. And like I said before, we are dealing with the 4 ways to deal with, standing up against the Jesus spell. Number 2 is to reject their judgment. And like I was saying before, a lot of people will feel, condemned and traumatized based off of the reaction of their family, if they choose to be open about their faith in their deconstruction from their faith. I know, and for people who've listened to my podcast story in my episode on talking about how I moved away from Christianity, the first thing that I wanted to do was tell my family. I thought, nobody knows about this. Nobody knows that Jesus don't exist. Like, nobody knows that this was a lie that was given to us, and that, Christianity was beat into our ancestors. Like, I got to tell somebody, because nobody ever told me about this. I got to tell somebody. Worst thing I could have ever done was tell my family the truth, that Jesus don't exist. and that Christianity was to keep our ancestors subservient to the slave master on the plantation. It was the worst thing I could have ever done. The worst thing. I do not recommend it for those who are just now deconstructing or thinking about deconstructing or having second thoughts. Do not tell your family. You do not. You might want to slowly baby step into that conversation. But you have to reject their judgment. You have to be able to have boundaries, because family will also feel like they can disrespect you and your intelligence just because y'all are not on equal grounds, or just because y'all don't think on particular perspective the same way. And that's what you have to shut it down immediately, because it's going to keep continuing and continuing. So you have to shut it down immediately. If a person isn't willing to hear you out as you're trying to explain yourself, they try and cut you off, or they try to misinterpret what you're saying and everything of that sort, you have to shut it down quick. Because if you don't let that person know that, hey, I'm not the one for that. I'm trying to tell you where I stand currently. And if you're not willing to have an adult or mature conversation about this, there ain't nothing to talk about. You have to let that person know that this is how I choose to believe. And you're not going to sit here and trying to shame me and trying to diss me into believing in something that you believe in. And they will use all the shaming tactics. They used it on me. You're just going to turn away from Jesus. Your grandmama believed in Jesus. Your granddaddy believed in Jesus. We always went to church. We always did this. Now you don't believe in Jesus? They're going to use everything at you. When life ain't going your way, see, you turned away from Jesus. That's why your life ain't going this way. I'm talking about they will gut punch you. They will kick you where the sun don't shine, just so that you can turn back to Jesus. And they're supposed to be so Christ. They're supposed to be filled with the Holy Spirit. They're supposed to be spirit led, and yet they be the most spiteful. They be the ones with the most to do to backbite. They be the most to stab you in the back too. And they would try to even use scripture to try and condone their actions. Just like the Pharisees. Act so jealous and high and mighty and holier than thou. In the moment that you are trying to look for answers that they refused to give you when you were growing up, that they refused to give you answers up close and personal, they want to shame you. They feel like this is the way. This is the right way to turn them back to Jesus. I'm a instill fear into my kids. And, oh, so you want to go to hell? That's what you're telling me? You want to go to hell? So you don't believe in Jesus no more. So you don't feel hell? You don't fear hell? You don't fear Judgment Day? Oh, so you with Satan now? I mean, they will do anything and everything to turn your gears. And if you're not careful enough, they will bring out the worst in you, because you start getting aggravated. You're already enraged as it is because you feel like you've been lied to all your life. Now they're trying to, downgrade and minimize your intelligence. Like, what? You're not going to be talking to me crazy like that. So it's baby steps. There's all type of angles and perspectives when it concerns the basis of these type of conversations. And most parents are more willing to talk about these issues than others. I just know I was raised up in a black ass household, so that's not going to fly. So the conversation definitely did not go well, and on multiple occasions did not go well with my mother. Even to this day, I truly feel like that my parents feel like, oh, that was just a phase. You're just going through a little phase, but don't worry, you're going to come back to Jesus. You're going to turn back to Jesus. And that's another way of downplaying a person's intelligence. That, a person is out here looking for answers. A person out here is deconstructing from the faith, is trying to find the truth. And you telling them what you're doing, you're wasting your time. You're wasting your life away. But don't worry. You might be, deceived by the devil right now. You might be led astray, but you're going to come back. That is one of the worst things to tell a loved one or a friend. Like that is not something that you tell somebody that you love, because you're spitting in their face. Miss Ma'am, she done asked me, do you think the goal of Christianity is to unify everyone, and the reason so many people gravitate to it, which seems good at first? If the goal of Christianity was to unify everybody, it would show historically. That's what I truly feel like. If the goal of Christianity was to unify everybody and to bring everybody together and to bring peace, Christianity would have brought that into existence. The byproduct of Christianity historically would have been peace. It would have been unity. But it has been the exact opposite. Why? Because Christianity does not truly abide by the supposed teachings of Christ. The byproduct of Christianity is what is called the Antichrist. Christianity does not, abide by the teachings of Christ or the spirit of Christ or the nature of Christ or Christ's consciousness. It does not, it does not submit itself to that. Christianity did not, it wasn't birthed out of, the teachings and the consciousness of Christ. It was birthed out of the Roman Empire. It was birthed out of religion. It was birthed out of the atrocities done by people. It was for control. It was for all these other different types of things, but peace. So, Christianity preaches peace. Malcolm X even talks about this as well. Christianity will, people who are Christian and religious, and they'll say one thing, but they'll mean another. And this is where a lot of Christians are hypocritical and lukewarm. The most lukewarm and hypocritical people that you might know personally are Christians. They don't abide by the teachings of Jesus. They're not led by the Spirit as much as they try to say that they're led by the Spirit, as much as they try to speak in tongues, which is not even really speaking in tongues. But as much as they try to let you believe and try to lead you on to believing that they believe in Jesus, and they led by the Spirit, and they got the Holy Spirit, and they Spirit filled and all this, they'll tell you the whole 9 and 10. It don't mean a goddamn thing. Because as Jesus said, the tree, you shall judge a tree by the fruit that it bears. And when you look historically at the lineage and the history of Christianity, what has it produced? Fear-mongering, the Inquisitions, the Crusade era, the witch trials, slavery. There is so much bad, so much bloodshed committed by the religion of Christianity. You can't sit here and tell me with my black ass that I need to be a Christian. There is no justification with my black ass, with my African lineage and my African ancestry. There is no justification for how you can tell me or for what you could tell me for why I need to be a Christian. Nothing. And for another black person to try and come to me and tell me why I need to submit to Jesus is just ironic in itself. And not only to come to me and try and convince me that Jesus is Lord, but to come to me in the way that the Europeans came to our ancestors in Africa. That's so ironic. You really can't make anything like that up. You really can't make this stuff up. For black people, for your own people to try and come to you and demonize and minimize, traditions and cultures that were already instilled, already advanced prior to Christianity, is mind-boggling, and it's funny within itself. The joke really does write itself. As I heard even Chris Rock, he said in a comedy, and I'm not trying to say Chris Rock is a credible source, but he said something that was very interesting, and he said in one of his stand-ups that if you're black and Christian, you have short-term memory. Because you weren't Christian when the Europeans came to your lands and kidnapped you. You weren't Christians when you first stepped foot into the Americas. But they used Christianity to make you subservient, to make you submissive, and people will easily try and bypass that with saying, well, Christianity was in Africa before it was in Europe. Christianity, we had Christianity before they did. Don't mean a damn thing. because you weren't, and they will use, you know, the Ethiopians and all these different things. They will use all these little excuses and any type of little loopholes, anything that they could try and do to try and run away from the truth of the matter, that you can't use merely 5% of Africa to try and say that, oh yeah, we already knew about Christianity. You can't, you know, disregard or ignore the roots, you know, of spirituality throughout all different sectors of Africa. It's just not possible. You can't do that. You would just have to be completely oblivious, or just trying to play the okie doke on me, you know, because you can't sit here and tell me that you mean to tell me all of our ancestors, all the people of Africa, 4,000 years ago, 6,000 years ago, 10,000 years ago, from West Africa to Central Africa to South Africa to North Africa, you mean to tell me all of these people were just led astray by the devil? All these people were just led astray by the devil. All their cultures and traditions don't mean nothing. It wasn't up until they were introduced to Jesus, that's when everything started getting back on board. Jesus is the worst drug introduced to black people. I will argue to mankind. But the way that Jesus has been used against black people, the way that Jesus has been used in terms of inferiorizing black people, to such a point that even to this day, the black child will always choose the white doll over the black doll. You can make Jesus black all you want. You could blackface him all you want. At the end of the day, the average black person, the average black child will choose the white doll over the black doll. They will tell you that Jesus is white and not black. And as long as that keeps happening to my people, fuck Jesus. As long as that keep happening to my people, fuck Jesus. That's the Antichrist. The blonde hair, blue eyed, pale skin, buttermilk complexion man that's hanged up in your grandmama's kitchen wall or in the living room. It don't matter if he got Jerry curls too. Fuck that nigga. And that needs to be emphasized. That man has done worse, if not nothing, for black people than anything. But I digress. So number 2, reject their judgment. Stand your ground. Have your boundaries when it concerns the basis of these type of conversations. If they're not willing to have a mature conversation with you on the basis of you deconstructing from Christianity or try to understand where you're coming from, you don't need to have the conversation at all. Remove yourself, if you can, by all means, from them yelling at you and trying to scream and trying to peer pressure you, which we are going to get into for number 3. Trying to peer pressure you and shame you back into Christ. That's not the way that you evangelize. And I tell people in my comment section all the time, for the people who keep trying to push me on to Christ and trying to tell me I need to repent and trying to evangelize to me in my comment section, I truly feel like you need to take some marketing classes or something, and you need to talk with God. You need to talk back with Jesus or somebody, because y'all marketing skills, y'all evangelism skills are ass. I'm talking about they are terrible. Like, I was a better evangelist back in my time when I was 13, 14, 15 than some of y'all. Y'all come at me with the disrespect and then hit me with the, but Jesus loves you. Jesus loves me and he sent you to convert me. He must not love me that goddamn much. Because the way you coming at me crazy, fam, you ain't even going to pull the hose with that talk. You're not even going to pull the hose with that talk. You trying to convert me to Christ? Fam, you can't even pull hose. You can't even pull hose and you trying to convert me to Christ? Try to pull the hose first. Pull the hose first. Let me see how you can, if you can pull women, okay, I might hear you out. If you can't pull the women, if you can't pull the hose. See, Jesus could pull hose. Jesus could pull hose. He had all the women around him. You can't pull the hoes. You can't pull the women. That's how you truly know if somebody's. That's how you know if somebody has the mind of Christ. If they got the women around them, and not on no pimp type stuff. I'm talking about like the true, genuine connection. But like I said, let's continue. Number 3, stand firm against peer pressure. You have to stand firm against the guilt, the threats, all these different things, all these different matters when it concerns the basis of Christianity, because as I emphasized when I was dealing with number 2, they will try to hit you with anything and everything. They'll hit you with past loved ones, past relatives, grandmama, granddaddy, how you was raised up. If you're going through something currently, the reason why this is happening is because God's trying to teach you a lesson, all type of things. The devil's I even had my parents, I had my mom pull me in to her bedroom one time, or my parents' bedroom, and she was trying to tell me like one of God's greatest soldiers. And you see what the devil's doing is that he be having meetings on how to get God's greatest soldiers, and the devil been trying to get you because he knows all the work you be doing for God. I asked her one simple question that made her lose her mind. Did he tell you this? She's like, what you mean? I said, did he tell you this? Did the devil tell you that he's having meetings about me? Or like, how do you know this? You know what, Tyrone? You know what? Just let loose. I said, well, I don't know what that was, but that definitely didn't convert me. That definitely was not convincing. I think God needs to have a recall. I think he needs to have a recall on his evangelism skills, because I don't think the fear mongering is working anymore on us. I think there needs to be a better way. There needs to be a recall. But leading on to number 4, this is the last one, is to claim your power. You have to sit there and really truly identify who you are. Stand firm in your identity. Create and redefine yourself. And stand there firm and be like, I am the shit. I am the authority of my life. I am the master of my fate. I am God, and there is none before me. You have to, because if you don't, who will? You have to be the Lucifer, the rebel in your family, the black sheep in your family. You have to be the goat to know the ledge, and really you separate yourself from the sheep, because you know better. You have determined within your life that you're no longer going to live in fear. You're no longer going to submit or serve false gods. You understand that the true God that you've been looking for resides within yourself. And that's the true matters of spirituality. Spirituality, when you really break down the word spiritual, it is you who is a spirit that is practicing a ritual. That is all it means to be spiritual. Being spiritual means that you are a spirit who is practicing a ritual, which means you are a spirit living life. There's no specific way to look spiritual. There's no specific way to be spiritual. Literally, spiritual is for you to be a spirit who is practicing a ritual. You are a spirit who is living life. Living my life like it's golden. That's literally what it means. So that's all that you're doing as a person. You are not the body. You are a spirit who possesses a body. And so you who is basically contributing your life to what is called spirituality, you are somebody who is contributing your life to a specific format. You are subscribing your life to a specific format that you have created within yourself. And all the religions, all the spiritual systems are man-made formats. These are things that were implemented to mankind for them to find different ways in different sectors to get in connection with the God within themselves. And once you truly advance, you can create your own sector. You can create your own software. But some people are not that advanced. Some people aren't that advanced to separate themselves from all religions and from all spiritual systems because they really don't know how. They need that help, and it's okay to have that help. For people who get to the point of disassociating from all different beliefs and create their own beliefs, more props and more power to you. That person is no different than another person, because the person who dissects from them or disperses from them and becomes their own, that you still playing with the double-edged sword. Why? Because if you truly do create your own belief system, is that belief system going to advance you, or is it going to consume you? And that's why some people stay within religion. That's why some people stay within a certain faith. They stay Christian. They stay going to the church because they feel like if they dissect that, if they disperse from that, they're going to lose their shit. They're going to lose their mind. Some people feel like if they walk that left-hand path, they are going to consume. They are going to be destroyed. Their life is going to go into all type of different ranges. So people stay within the faith. They stay glorifying and praising Jesus. They stay on the path that makes them comfortable. But the thing is, some people don't like being uncomfortable. Some people can't stand discomfort. But it is truly within discomfort that you are going to change. If you don't experience discomfort, you can't change. So for you to disperse from religion and create a new has to happen. You have to be uncomfortable in order for you to truly find the light. And some people, they just don't like that. So they're going to continue believing in the old okie doke. But you have to claim your power. You have to understand that there are no other gods before you. That Jesus is just a representation of you. All the gods, all the goddesses, every mythological story is a representation of your journey. And all the stories of the gods and goddesses are just reflections of the journey within yourself. Even the stars tell you of your journey. Even the stars will tell you all the stories of the gods. Because as above, so below. As within, so without. Well, that's all I have for you today. That's pretty much it. That's all I have right now. So, if anybody have any questions or anything of that sort, and anybody want to ask me anything, if not, I'll be out. But I'm gonna shut it down over here for my podcast. For people who've been listening to me on my podcast, thank you for watching. Like I said, make sure you hit that like button, share this with a couple of friends or two. And until next time, we out.